I would love to talk to you guys tonight about the subject of getting old. There are many signs that tell you that you're getting old. For example, the first thing I do in the morning is turn on my computer. Not to get the exact time, which is helpful, and not to get the exact date, which is helpful, but the real reason I turn it on is to find out what day of the week it is. Has we reached the weekend yet? Or is it Monday or Wednesday or Friday? I need that help. Another example is getting old is when I go to the mall, I constantly can't remember what line of cars I put my car in. And when I come out, it's a real problem. But thank God my daughter has made me put that red tennis ball on the outside aerial so I know what to look for. It's very helpful. Another example of a problem is forgetting the password to get into my computer. I'm always forgetting what it is. So the other day I decided I changed it to incorrect, incorrect. Now when I log on with the wrong password, which is usually the case, the computer tells me the password is incorrect. Very helpful. Now, one thing that I really do appreciate now is the speed of my haircuts. They've gone down to like 4 minutes. 1 minute to cut my hair and 3 minutes to trim my nose, my ears, and my eyebrows. Now, I have a few stories about neighbors that getting old that might be of interest to you. The first story it concerns my neighbor Betty, who lives right across the street. She's very attractive, goes to the gym a lot. She's the same age as me, but she's slim, trim, takes walks every morning. Really, really, really nice. But the other day she came back from a new dentist trip to a place called Aspen Dental, which just opened up on Putney Road in Brattleboro, and she was really upset. And I asked her what was wrong. And she said, well, when she got into the waiting room, she looked at the document on the wall. The name of the dentist was Robert Lee Bass. And that struck a chord. That was the same name as a young, dark-haired, handsome athlete she had a secret crush on in high school. Well, he came out to see her, and she, oh, God, no, this guy was old and wrinkly-faced and pot-bellied and bald. Couldn't be him. But after he examined her teeth, she felt she had to ask him. And she said, Dr. Bass, did you attend Brattleboro in high school? He says, oh, yeah, yes, I did. I was a true purple colonel. She said, what year did you graduate? He said, 1957. Why did you ask? She said excitedly, well, you were in my class. He scratched his chin a little, and he says, what did you teach? Ooh, he now has 2 broken teeth, and he's going to his dentist. Well, I had my own age comeuppance the other day. I was coming back for a bachelor party at the Legion, and I stopped at a neighborhood pub for nightcap. And wouldn't you know, there was an attractive woman sitting at the bar by herself. So I sauntered right up to her, sat down, ordered a draft beer, took a couple of slugs, and then I gave her one of my old Dartmouth best lines. I said, lovely lady, where have you been all my life? She looked me right in the eye, and she says, well, for the first 2/3, I wasn't born yet. Oh, dear. And then there was my neighbor Joe, who lives down the other side of the street. And he's in his mid-80s, a little older than us, but he still likes to go out on an occasional Saturday night. And the other night he put on his best suit, put a flower in his lapel, splashed on a little Old Spice, and headed downtown. And he stopped into an upscale cocktail lounge, and wouldn't you know, there was an elderly, attractive lady sitting alone at the bar. So he sauntered over there, sat down next to her, ordered a martini, took a sip, then he caught her eye, leaned over, and coyly asked, so tell me, do I come here often? Ooh. And then there was my neighbor John, who lived down the other side of the street and passed away quite suddenly, and the neighborhood was shocked how he learned of his fatal condition. Apparently his doctor just called him and said, John, I've got bad news and worse news. And John said, well, give me the bad news. And the doc says, well, your test just came in and you only have 24 hours to live. John said, my goodness, what could be worse news? The doc says, I've been trying to contact you since yesterday. Ooh. And then there was my neighbor Carol Johnson, a widow who lives several houses down on the other side of the street. And she told my neighbor Betty about the most embarrassing moment of her life. Well, like I say, she was been a widow for quite some time, was quite lonely, so Carol took a trip to New York City. And she stayed at a motel just outside the city, a nice motel. And then she did something she thought she would never, ever do in her life. She looked up in the phone book for a male escort service, and she found a full-page ad of a guy named Tender Tony. So before she lost her nerve, she dialed the number right away. And the man answered, "Hello, what can I do for you?" Well, his voice was so warm and inviting, she was so excited, she just blurted right out. She said, "Well, to be frank, I don't want a massage. I want sex, and I want it all night long. And you can bring your whips and other paraphernalia. I want to try everything. How does that sound?" "Well, that sounds absolutely fantastic. But Mrs. Johnson, I should remind you, you'll have to dial 9 first to get an outside line." And then there was the conversation overheard by the two older ladies who lived down at the end of the cul-de-sac. And Betty overheard this, my other neighbor, and she told me about it. Apparently, Agnes was asked out by this old Dartmouth grad, Joe Smoothfield. I think he was in the class of 61. I'm not positive. I think so. Anyway, she knew that Gertrude had a date with this guy, Joe, and she wanted to find out, how it went and what kind of a guy he was. So she asked Gertrude. And Gertrude said, "Oh, yes, Agnes, he did date me. He picked me up in a brand new Mercedes, and he took me to the great steakhouse restaurant, and we had a wonderful meal. And then we took in a play of the year at the West End Playhouse. Amazing performances. It was wonderful. And then he took me out dancing, and he was a glorious dancer. And I was wearing my new burgundy dress, the one with the lace collar and the long silk sleeves. I really looked my very best. But then when we got back to my house, I asked him if he'd like to come in for a cup of coffee. And he said, sure. But as soon as I closed the front door, he grabbed me forcefully and kissed me hard on the lips. And then he tore off my dress, picked me up, threw me on the couch, and had his way with me twice. Oh, my God, Gertrude, Agnes says. I heard rumors about those Dartmouth boys in the 60s, with no women around for 4 years. It did something to their minds. But I never thought he would do something like that. I think you're telling me I should never go out with that Dartmouth animal. Oh, no, Agnes. Just wear an old dress. Well, I could go on and on about some more of these stories, but I think I'll leave you with 4 one-liners about getting old. 1. You're getting old when you can't walk by a bathroom without thinking, oh, I better pee while I'm here. The same is true of all older golfers when they pass by a big elm tree on the back nine. And then you're getting old when your friends compliment you on your new alligator shoes and you're barefoot. And then you're getting old when that little old lady you help across the street is your wife. And finally, you're getting old when that 4-letter word you use to describe what 2 people can do together in bed is read. Now, I have a couple of minutes left, and I would like to recite again a poem that I recited at our 45th reunion. It's also about getting old. I miss our college days on the Hanover Plain when life's pace was slower and things were more sane. We all answered our phones without touch-tone voicemail, and we hand-wrote love notes without need of email. Now life's a computer with a mouse and a click. You go to WebMD if you ever get sick. If your problem's mental and your head's like a bomb, just hit the search button for therapist.com. You're growing old when you hit your 60th and your bathroom mirror shows all parts need a lift. You chug along 3 Advil to help with your bursitis and follow that with Motrin to soften your arthritis. Your diet stresses fiber to check cholesterol and 2 shots of Metamucil with a side of Geritol. You splash on the Rogaine, but hair keeps receding, except for ears and nose where the growth's unbelieving. Keeping up with the news, both foreign and local, cannot be accomplished without your bifocals. And although hearing aids were a true godsender, how to adjust volume you cannot remember. Your bedroom's more quiet, and the door needs no latch, 'cause if you get lucky, you'll get a back scratch. Real sex now requires some abracadabra and a trip to the druggist for a hit of Viagra. Yes, it's life's last quarter in the old rocking chair, a monthly SS check and token Medicare. You put up with heartburn and occasional gas, and thank God you're still on the top side of the grass. But it's that time in life to make an impression on the priest down at church with open confession, then Mass at St. Patrick's to say you're so sorry, and pray hard there's still room in old purgatory.